Today's talk is called What You Can Do When Not Taking It Personally Isn't Working. And as always, I have some quotes to begin. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. That's Carl Jung. The next one. You are very powerful, provided you know how powerful you are. And that's Yogi Bhajan. And lastly, your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. So I get that one of the four agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz is don't take it personally. And personally, I agree with him. Life is rarely personal, and when it comes to others, what others are doing or what circumstances you're dealing with, it's not personal. It's not about you. And yet, we do take things personally, and I have to tell you that for myself, I take things personally a lot and get my feelings hurt very often. I mean, really often. And when that happens, my initial reaction is to shut my heart down and hide within, or have the desire to strike back verbally and defend myself. Now I can tell myself from here to doomsday that it's not personal, and I completely get it intellectually. But as we talk about it here week after week, it's not what you think, it's what you embody that transforms lives. What you think is a start, but it's got to make that really, really long journey, what seems at least like the longest journey on the planet, to your heart before you can feel it. And once you feel it's not personal, then at least for me, I can see through my own drama and get to what's really true. That it not only is not personal, but there is an opportunity in it to open my heart to greater heights and love even deeper. And then before, right in the midst of whatever circumstances is set off in the first place, I am lifted up. But as long as I'm taking it personal, and as long as my heart is closed, I am in suffering. You may experience this too, that when your heart is closed, you experience suffering. There is always an opportunity for greater understanding and greater love in every moment of every day. Now, we know that is an intellectual and ultimate truth. But when our feelings are hurt and our initial reaction is to close our hearts, this is very hard to see. Not impossible, but not easy. So today, I'm here to share with you what I do to reopen my heart when it's hurt and wants to close, so that you can make the most of the opportunities being made available to you, thus deepening your experience of love in your life. Would you like that? Would you like to deepen your experience of love in your life? Then hang in here with me today, and I'll give you some great practices you can try that have worked for me. First, let's look at the different ways we react, some of which has us hide the fact that our feelings are hurt. Almost always, if you are mad, your feelings are hurt. If you can accept this as a working premise, even if you don't completely believe it, you can try out what I'm going to share with you and see if it helps transform your anger into something that feels so much better. Even simply annoyed is a sign of a closed heart and that some suffering exists. But I'll be using a much stronger example for this today. Recently, I was in a public forum with two people I trusted when all of a sudden I felt very shamed by what they were saying. I felt attacked, I felt ashamed, and it felt like I was kicked in the stomach. Now, I am sure that when you close your heart, it has very good reasons for it as well. And it can feel very personal. And maybe you're really good at not taking things personally, so opening your heart is easy. But if you're like me, then not taking things personally is not so easy. If this is the case for you as it is for me, another route is needed to end the suffering and begin to feel love and joy again. The route I take always, always, always begins with the question, what can I do to love myself right now? What can I do to love myself right now? Last week I spoke about 100% responsibility. Self-love is impossible without it. If I hadn't taken responsibility for opening my heart when it felt so closed because of the circumstances, and I had good reasons for closing it, I would have continued to suffer. We may blame others or circumstances for the closing of our hearts, but it is only us who can open them again, and when our hearts are closed, we suffer. So I asked myself the question right then and there, what can I do to love myself now? And then when it ever comes up, I do that. I do it as quickly as I can. I do that before anything else because I know that if I continue doing whatever it was I was doing, I will continue to suffer. And the best way to end my suffering, the best way to end your suffering, is to take action that feels loving to you. So once I got home from the event I described earlier, I began asking myself the question and began taking action. I hugged my wife. I went for a walk. I meditated. I sang to myself. And I did the Katie and Gay Hendricks exercise of pouring love onto myself as if from a pool. I sought the barriers within me to love and knew I had broken those barriers down, even if only temporarily, when tears came to my eyes. I could feel my heart reopen. I could feel love. I could feel peace. I could feel joy. I could feel my suffering ending. So is that it? Has my suffering ended for good? I doubt it. But you never know. I am so very grateful to have a practice whereby when suffering appears and my heart closes, I can get beyond those barriers time and time again because I am so committed to doing so. So it's not just taking responsibility, but being committed to doing so, even when you don't know how. Lots of times I don't know how. I don't know what will actually work to bring me out, to bring me through my barriers, to get beyond my suffering. But I am so committed to that. I'm so committed to getting back to my open heart that I just try one thing after the next until it works. And this is what I recommend for you. Take 100% responsibility to open back up your heart and then be committed to doing so. Now, I know there are many who are afraid to open their hearts out of fear of being hurt. They've been hurt before and they don't want to hurt again. And I can understand that because I have been hurt so often. But that's not because of anyone or any circumstance that I might blame, no matter what the evidence. It is because I have not learned how to take things totally not personally. I haven't done it yet. Now, it's a really good idea to learn how to take things not personally. But in the wake of not having learned that, I have learned more and more how to love myself. Asking the question, what can I do to love myself now? Because that question changes everything. It takes my mind off the hurt and onto the love. It feeds and soothes any wound I might be having. It can do the same for you. The question itself, if you keep coming back to that question and keep coming back to that question, can open you up in ways you can't possibly even know right now. I know that's true for me. Every time I open back to that place, it deepens something in me that solids out a foundation of love in me simply by continually asking myself that question that then radiates out to everyone in my life. When you focus on the why that person did that harm to you or why this circumstance happened, those questions only add hurt and rarely help the hurt from happening again. They are what I call dead-end questions. They do not lead to healing. Asking yourself what I can do to love myself can. That's a question that can heal. Plus, it doesn't rely on another person or circumstance to change. It relies on taking action that changes you so that you can feel a deeper sense of love, irregardless of what happened out here. This question, when made part of your daily practice, becomes, when it becomes more and more the go-to when you're mad, upset, hurt, or suffering. It is better than the cure for the common cold. And so because the opportunity arises anytime you feel that hurt, blame, upset, or even just a bit annoyed, to look past your barriers within yourself. I'm going to repeat the quotes I used at the top of my talk and see if you can hear them differently now in the context of ending suffering through reopening your heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. You are very powerful, provided you know how powerful you are. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. Don't look outside. Look inside and awake. Remember how powerful you are. Ask yourself the question, what can I do to love myself now? And find all the barriers you have built within yourself to love. Break them down. Open your heart and let love in. Thank you. I love you.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God.